Welcome back to the Changing Earth podcast with author Sarah F. Hathaway and co-host Chen Gibson, blending survival fiction and fact to bring you entertaining education that will help you dream, survive, and thrive. And now, here's your host, Sarah F. Hathaway and Chen Gibson.
Hello, and welcome back to the Changing Earth podcast. This is episode number 472. Now, I know that I promised you guys we're going to start into season 3 breakdown of the audio drama for some survival tips, but I think you're going to like what we got going on with the show much better today. A little bit of news update. Changing Earth audio drama episode 10 is live. 11 is up for members right now. So if you are a subscribing member, you can go over and check out episode 11 in a commercial-free setting. Also, Changing Earth novels are on sale for an unheard of price. Head on over there, pick up your series. I only have like 14 of them left, so get them now before Christmas time. They're going to make a great gift. Alrighty, that's all over at ChangingEarthSeries.com. You can check it all out. So, hey, Chim, what's up?
Hey, chin's up, y'all.
Man, you still just rocking it out. They're in the recovery zone. One day you guys will get back to some kind of normal.
Yep.
So our second guest on the show today, we're honored to have Marjorie Wildcraft on the show today. Marjorie reached out, and I got to tell you, I'm nothing but impressed. So welcome, Marjorie. Why don't you say hi to the audience?
Hey, everybody. How are you doing?
Yeah, it's a good night. We got our live chat going. We'll see if anybody's got any questions for you as we go along. But let's get into it because you have some amazing materials I think that my audience would definitely be into. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, explain a little bit of who you are, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty.
Sure. Well, I'm the founder of the Grow Network. And it's an online community of people who grow their own food and make their own medicine. Most of us have a survival and preparedness bent, but that's just because we're kind of, people who grow food are a little bit practical and maybe a little bit more aware, maybe a little bit more connected to what's going on in the world. I've been doing it for about 20 years, and my first degree is in electrical engineering, and I'd always wanted to live overseas and managed to score a job with Motorola in Hong Kong. And when I was there, and I grew up a little bit poor, and when I was there, I was always interested in money. And some of my friends were like, hey, there's this guy who has this course all about wealth. You want to go? And I'm like, what do we know about it? And they said, well, his name's Robert. And I'm like, okay. So I go and I take this course, and this guy just blows my mind with these concepts. And he ultimately inspires me to leave engineering and to create a real estate investment business, which I did in Austin, Texas. And it was so successful that Robert said, hey, would you be on my infomercials? And that's how I was on national television for 4 years, selling Rich Dad, Poor Dad for Robert Kiyosaki.
Oh, that's cool.
My wife loves that book.
Yeah, so he's awesome. In person, he's really kind of a jerk, but what he teaches is great. And I was volunteering on a project. I had no idea that this was going to completely change my life. I mean, really, by the time I'd 40, I'd made my first $1 million. I was super stoked, ready to make my next 10 million, And I was volunteering on this project to get locally grown food into an elementary school. And we're outside of Austin, Texas, which is a pretty progressive area. And that project was a complete failure, and my life completely changed because we found out there were not enough farmers to provide even part of the vegetables for one small rural elementary school. And I had organized the meeting room at the community center, and I could not stop shaking because I knew there's only 4 days worth of food supply in the grocery stores. I knew that food got trucked in 1,500 miles, and I was surrounded by 20 million Texans who were armed to the teeth. And, they talk about the 9 days and anarchy. And I'm like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
This really could happen. And all of a sudden, the drive from Austin out to this little town called Red Rock made a bunch of sense. It was a 45-minute drive. And it's funny, when you live in the city or in the suburbs, in the back of your mind, whether you're going to be honest about it or not, you have the plan that if anything really bad happens, you're going to go out in the countryside and get stuff from the farmers, right? Like that's your plan.
Right, that's your thought.
And there was no farmers, and then all of a sudden that drive just made sense because there was nothing out there. Maybe a few cows, but a new Dollar General going in or a new subdivision. There was no. And I began to look around, and there's like no food growing anywhere. Like Willie Nelson, with all his concerts, did not save the family farm. And
amen.
So true. I couldn't get the chairs under the tables or turning off the lights, or my husband drove me home. Thank God, like getting the key in the door to lock the building. I had nightmares and panic attacks, and all I could think was, farmers come from gardeners, and we have to completely rebuild the food supply, and we have to build resilience. And I've got to learn how to grow food, and I need to teach people how to grow food. And there's lots of people who know how to make money. I clearly was winning at that game, but making money is not really like that important in the great scheme of things. Let me turn this up. And I just said, well, I've got to, this is what, there's nobody's doing this. Somebody needs to do this. I go, when somebody needs to do this, you know who that is, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So
no, and I loved your website. You guys got to go over and check this out. It is thegrownetwork.com. Fantastic resources. All the blogs are just really well done. You've got all kinds of educational items over there. Really, really nice setup. So congrats to that. And then the community focus is just never ending. That was, like when we were talking in the green room, I always just grew up country. So like I always had a garden, and we were always doing those things. So for me, it was like, wait, isn't this what everybody does? And then
lucky you.
right. Yeah. And then to get into a city environment, going to college and stuff like that, I'd meet people that never seen a deer before. And I'm like, those are like rodents. We eat them. And, yeah, they're like in a petting zoo. Like, what do you do? What? So, when I started realizing the same thing, that now our food industry has just been so nationalized and literally sometimes are on a one-day food supply, and to watch how fast the society just kind of unravels when they just have 4 days without power. And for me, it really grew as far as like, these are the things that I was taught that nobody else knows. So I need to share them so that everybody knows these things again, because it's important, like you're saying, that people become gardeners again.
It really is. I went to Cuba in 2012, and it was a legitimate trip. It wasn't one of those go through Canada, sneak around things. I went with the I went with the Organic Consumers Association, Ronnie Cummins, who was the founder of the Millions Against Monsanto movement, and they organized this. And
awesome.
And I went and I specifically interviewed a lot. They had like in early 1990s when the Soviet Union came apart, Cuba had been utterly dependent on the Soviet Union. And when the last ship pulled out of Havana, the economy dropped 60%. The lights stopped working. The water shut off. The average Cuban lost 20 pounds. I mean,
wow.
It was like, bam, it's over with real fast. And what really pulled them through was that there were just enough of those lunatics that, the gardeners or the people that save seeds. There were just enough of them in different neighborhoods around to like really, and the whole society completely turned upside, so the doctors and the lawyers and all that were now all of a sudden on the bottom of the social heap, and the lowly gardeners were stepping up and taking leadership roles and organizing people and sharing seeds and teaching how to do stuff. And backyard food production is what humanity turns to in a crisis. Same thing happened in Russia when the Soviet Union fell apart. Mm-hmm. Same thing, all over the place.
Yeah,
that's what people go to.
Yeah, that's why I always preach, like, you're the leaders of tomorrow. You're listening, you're doing these things now. In an event like that where we did lose the national supply chain, you are the leader of tomorrow because you've been learning and educating.
You are.
Yep.
Yeah, you absolutely are. Yeah. So thank you to everybody who's listening tonight, and please take it seriously, as you are being called, and you're stepping up and you're heeding that. And if there's any way I can help you, I definitely want to do that.
Yeah, I can tell the focus of your website is so community oriented. And see, I started out thinking like, oh wow, my family and I would just go into the woods. I'm from the country, so I'm not headed to the country. I'm headed to the woods. And it was like, oh yeah, you're just going to survive out there for 6 months while the rest of the world falls apart. First of all, like, are you going to be able to put up with your family that long? All the other, right? With no electronics.
Yeah,
I would, but the joke's still there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, the kids.
And
that's the biggest myth of the survival and preparedness movement, is that of the lone survivor. I'm going to take my shotgun with my shells and my family, and we're going to go out and you're going to be dead so fast.
Yeah, you and how many other thousands of country people. So it really came around to community. It took a couple of years, to realize like, you're not doing this without a village. There's a reason that we have village as human beings. And so that sense of community is so important. Let's get into your book. When did you publish your book?
That was 2021.
Okay.
We published it. Yeah. I wrote it during the lockdowns.
Oh, of course.
And I had negotiated. Actually, I get Penguin Random House to
know.
publish this book. It's incredible, right?
That is incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, and we had just negotiated. The pandemic or plandemic or whatever you want to call it had just started, and I really had to play a little bit hardball with them because they were all going a little slow. And I said, look, this has got to happen now. And then the whole thing started to unfold, and they're like, "Yeah, you're right," And
because it was the timing.
I had all that time with, focus, and I was joking around with the universe. I said, "Look, universe, you did not need to shut the entire planet down to make me focus on this book." Really
fair.
I would have written it, I promise.
Well, guys, I would recommend this book 100%. I am going to actually fine-tooth comb some areas with my highlighter. I loved it that much. Stories combined with teaching is what I'm all about. And that's what you're bringing to the table here. Really, really readable, easy to digest material, very beginner level with like thousands of pro tips just scattered in there. So, I mean, great beginner source. If you know somebody for Christmas that's interested in gardening, just starting the journey, that kind of thing, into self-sufficiency, this is a great pickup for it, with awesome references and links in there as well. So kudos to you. Very well done. I know what it's like putting this material together, so it's really cool.
I tried to make it multidimensional to really appeal at a lot of different levels. And I would like to say, I know everybody always thinks about me about gardening, but I talk in that book about how to grow half of your own food in a backyard sized space in less than an hour a day. And it's not clickbait. I mean, I've taught really literally hundreds of thousands of people how to do that. And honestly, animal products are, a flock of chickens for eggs and some rabbits for meat, far more efficient and productive than gardens. But you want to have diversity. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Actually,
Texas taught me that. I homesteaded in Texas for 15 years, and I'm going to tell you, vegetable gardening in Texas is you got to be a real badass to make that happen. And animal products are so much easier. I mean, that's why Texas is famous for cows, right? Like It's just animals are easier.
Yeah, that's why my greenhouse is going to grow like lentils for the chickens, because I know I can make that happen. And so the chickens are always good, and the rabbits, of course, great. They're great animals to have around. One of the things that I really picked up on was the water, because we came off a well. We had wells for years. And now I'm finally in like this urban-esque setting. People say I'm in the country, but for me, this is really urban. It's only an acre, right? And we have municipal water. I kept telling my husband that, I don't like using this stuff. So the soil ideas that you had about doing basically the throwaway layer of the compost with like a mulch on top, if you have to use that water, makes complete sense.
Yeah, filter it out a little bit. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Put up a rainwater collection system and just grab some water off the roof and use that for irrigation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're going to build onto the greenhouse.
The water here where I'm at is horrible. I mean, the drinking water. And so what I do is I just collect a little rainwater and I filter it with a Berkey, and that's what I drink.
Gotcha.
Even filtering with a Berkey, the city water, it's awful. So anyway, yeah, big fan of rainwater.
Yeah, I like the Alexa Pure systems, the stainless steel systems. Those are really nice. We had a lot of sulfur and yuckiness in our old well, iron and whatnot, and it works really, really slick for it, the Alexa Pure system. So, okay. Yeah. I know that you're working on a project and Chin wanted to pick your brain on it. So why don't you guys go off on more soil? Well, it's important. It's important because I want to know that your garden's going to be able to produce well in the future.
Well, yeah. I mean, in my mind, after the storm came rolling through, everything's about the change of our whole community. And when I saw your YouTube channel, you had a project about testing and the soil. So I thought I'd love to pick your brain, hear a little bit about how that's going and what you're seeing for helping to improve the soil.
Detox, yeah.
Yeah, so I got involved with this group. It was originally called the Earth Council, but it turns out the Clintons own that domain name, so we've changed it to Shared Earth Foundation. And it, Joel Salatin and a bunch of people that a bunch of them I don't know, but really, and just all of them amazing individuals. And there was these two gentlemen there that claimed to have these minerals and microbes that would detoxify soil, and they said it would, destroy forever chemicals, and it would turn heavy metals into omega-3 fatty acids, and it would, glyphosates. And
for people who don't know, talk about what the forever chemicals are.
Yeah, PFAS. So PFAS are the forever chemicals, and these are, some kind of chemical. they're just like they're just that. They're forever. You can't get rid of them, and they're like polyfluoride, chloride, or whatever. And they're
sprayed into our environment from various sources.
Yeah, interesting where most of them come from is. So the sewage systems in pretty much every municipality in the United States, what they do is the solid waste from it is they compost it and then they bag it up and sell it to you, or they give it to farmers in truckloads. And it's biosludge, but when they get done with it, it's organic fertilizer. And it on the bag, you'll see it, and it has these innocent names. And in Austin, it's called Dillo Dirt, and it's called Organite, and it sounds all this nice stuff. And what it is the biosolids from the municipality. And so everything that goes down the toilet, and all the pharmaceuticals and everything your Aunt Teresa, she was done with that furniture polish, and then of course the hospitals and what they're, everything. And their composting is, a minimal amount. I mean, when you get a bag of this stuff and you open it up, it has this really rank chemical smell. It doesn't smell like human feces, but it is just the nastiest smelling stuff. But it says organic all over the bag, and it'll even tell you can put it on your vegetables. And I have tested it, and it's got these forever chemicals. It's got all kinds of stuff in it, right? And so anyway, these guys said they had a way to remediate that, and normally I'd be like, and sure. I got some acreage,
yeah.
Right, a bridge in Arizona, all the different jokes we have. But honestly, I realize almost everything I have been lied to. Our human history is a complete fabrication, and I'm realizing that most of the science that I've learned is junk. And really, at this point in time, we are in the apocalypse, which is the lifting of the veil, and there's so much changing and realizing and opening. Yes. And I said, well, maybe it's easy enough to just grow a couple of garden beds and test it out and see, just see, right?
Right. Yeah. What happens?
And yeah. And I was blown away because we did destroy forever chemicals. And I knew actually before I even tested it that it was working, because when I'm taking the soil samples, I'm smelling it.
And the quality of the soil, yeah.
It changed. It smelled like really, really good earth. The side that I put the minerals and microbes in, the side that was still the I call it shit soil, the biosludge, was this nasty, chemical kind of nasty smell.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is they're like, people don't know. I mean, they're selling this as organic, and I thought at first, well, maybe there's some kind of litigation for fraud. That's not exactly the way I like to roll,
right?
But this is completely sanctioned by the FDA and the USDA and all the does and all that. And I was just like, well, that's not my. I'm not into the whole legal litigation fight stuff. That's just not my scene. So and I've done some tests now on the heavy metals, and they're inconclusive. I'm going to do more. And glyphosate is pretty well known that there are microbes that can destroy glyphosate. The question is some of these thousands, the 1,000 microbes that are in this kit, do they do it? And I'm pretty confident they do, but we got to test. So I started a fundraiser. It's thegrownetwork.com/fundraiser.
Creative.
Yeah, right. I know, right? Oh my God, I used to try to be so good with headlines and all that. I forget it.
I hear you. Just get the job done after a while.
That's right.
And I feel good enough about the testing that I've done so far that we're pre-selling the kits, which we'll be able to deliver it in January. And I'm asking people, just one PFAS test is $450. I'm using certified labs and everything completely legit. Heavy metals test is $350. The glyphosates are $350. So I've just been asking people for support for this, because I'm going to tell you, teaching people how to grow food is not a lucrative business. If you want to make money, do something else. Anything else. So for me, it's always been a passion.
But your chapter number 1 is true wealth comes from the ground, which
it's true.
Yeah.
I am so grateful for that day in Red Rock when that happened to me. I mean, it took me years to get over the panic attacks and all that, but I am so glad that my life changed that way. I'm so much healthier and stronger and capable and fit, and I'm 61 and I'm training in jiu-jitsu, and
which is amazing, everyone, by the way. Okay. I don't even like training jiu-jitsu all that much. I do MMA, so I have to. But at 61, that is really impressive.
Yeah, I compete, and some of these kids are 18 or 20 or 30, and sometimes I win. It's not always, but
right?
Yeah. So. All
right, now I don't have any excuse now to go tell my instructor why. I'm like, I'm 6 months older than you are, and my instructor, he's like, yeah, you got to get in here and do jiu-jitsu. I'm like, ugh.
You know what? I love it. It's so, I know it's disgusting. I don't recommend it to anybody. It really is. Like when I was first in it, I was like, you want me to put my head in his groin and put my arms around his butt
and do what?
What?
Yeah, you understand where my butt's going to end up then, correct?
It looks disgusting. I'm watching people rolling in it.
The huggers, I call them the huggers.
Oh my God, whose arm and whose leg is that? And what direction, But I got to tell you, when you're doing it, I've been training now for a little over 2 years. They're just about to give me my blue belt, but
nice.
It is the most interesting and complicated and difficult sport I've ever done, and I just like things like that. So
That's a chess game, very much a chess game.
It is, yeah.
So,
yeah.
No, but props.
So anyway, the minerals and microbes. We're really, really, really super stoked about that, and it has way. I would also like to point this out to people who are like, oh, I'm living in a suburb and I can't do anything. I don't have my acre. Like, you know what? I was living in a small 1/4 acre lot, and I haven't found the place where I'm going to be permanently. And I move every 6 to 8 months because everybody's wanting to sell their house here. And I just built the garden bed and did it. Right. It doesn't need to be big. Right. Now the impact for this is huge because Maine has started shutting down farms. They gave them this shit, so the biosludge soil, which is loaded with these chemicals, said it was organic. These farmers used it on their fields. Then they go back a few years later, which is now, they test their soil and they say, oh, your soil has forever chemicals in it, and they condemn their farms. And they're shutting down farms right now, small organic farms.
Why are they against it so hard? It's just they're just trying to rake everybody into this global national food supply.
They are structuring a famine. I mean, that's, you can
look back at Romans. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The 2015 food chain reaction was a simulation of a famine that rolled out in the 2020 to 2030 decade. And it's just like the Event 201, which was a pandemic that rolled out just before 2020. I mean, they let you know what they're doing. And they really, there's an attack on farmers everywhere. Not Europe. Everywhere there's an attack going on.
And that's just like Soviet Russia before everything, came down. They did the same thing to their farmers there.
Yeah, so this is it's just like, oh my God, this is, so first of all, when their farms get condemned, like that's it. You can't sell that land. They're done. They're going bankrupt.
Right.
So this is a way to completely turn all of that on its head and turn it around. So, I hope I don't.
Is it easily sourced?
Well, I'm working with these guys, and they are the source of it. And I have to say, their website was god awful. It looked like Craigslist. I'm like, you guys, this is the most ugly website I've ever seen. And they're like, yeah, we're trying to get it fixed. And then it's down a lot of the time. And this is where you should not have an attitude. I was like, I was thinking they were fundamentally incompetent. It turns out that they're under attack. They're like, yeah, we've been having attacks. And I'm like,
of course.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because I was all over them. Like,
you're like, what are you doing? Your website's down?
You were going to do this. So, I've been asking you for this for a couple of weeks and you haven't delivered, and then they're like, so, I don't know how insane this is going to be, but my philosophy is I'm like, look, you guys, I have a pretty good reach, and when I start turning on publicity and getting on shows and we can get enough of this out there, I think if we can get enough, and there's enough people now that realize that, the mainstream media is complete BS, and I think we have enough of them that we could make this happen, right? I'm not
and it's
that worried.
It's completely understandable too, like the alternate media sources starting to take over now because everybody figured out that, hey, what we've been watching for years is completely screwed up and funked up. And so we have to develop our own sources to be able to share information that we can actually believe. So I think it's perfect timing for it.
Yeah, so I am super stoked because also, I teach people to grow food, and I think I've got a video about this woman I met. She's a friend of mine. Her name is Angela, and Angelique. I'm sorry, not Angela. It's Angelique.
That's okay. It's late where you are.
And she was like, I did everything you said. I built a raised bed. I filled it with good soil. I even filled it with composted horse manure, and everything just died. I'm a horrible gardener. And I'm like, it's not your fault, Angelique. First of all, most horse manure, even if it's composted, they've fed those horses hay, horse quality hay, which means it's got herbicides all over it because they wanted to kill the weeds. And they don't get broken down in the horse's gut nor in the composting. And then the other thing is this biosludge soil, which is being sold everywhere as organic soil. So you don't really have a chance. I said, but, you can detox this soil. So we've got this kit, and it's up to 5 acres for one application. But most of my people are quarter acre. I'm really, really into just backyard food production. I mean, you can do a lot in a small space. So this would be 20 applications for quarter acre yard, and that would be more than enough to like totally clean everything up in a year. And it has, I don't know, 60, 70, 80 minerals in it. So you wouldn't need to buy any other fertilizer between these minerals and microbes.
You're cleaning and giving it good, healthy stuff along the way.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, you're gonna have to
So,
check that out, Chin, because that sounds pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I already saved the YouTube channel and the playlist, so I'm gonna be following it pretty hard. And you said, was it Substack, or you had better reach on a different platform than YouTube?
Yeah, Substack is better. YouTube has been
imagine that.
they've been I hadn't realized it, but a couple of different IT people said, yeah, they have what do they call it, shadow banning?
Yep.
Yeah.
I get beat down all day long. Yeah.
For me, I didn't even realize it was psychologically it was pretty hard. Like, because I'd put videos up and hardly getting any views, and I'm thinking, wow, maybe people just don't like me, But yeah, I got on Substack and it's really rocking it. Yeah, I really like Substack, and there's like
I'm gonna check
intelligent people there. Yeah, so I do a lot of uploads to Substack now. I really moved over to that platform. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been pretty hard on. We've been getting Rumble upticked for because Rumble's pretty good as well. But I don't know. For some reason, I like it. Don't get me wrong, but I'm always open to ideas.
The interface as a user for Rumble doesn't feel. We've been so used to using the YouTube interface that Rumble's just a little different. It's like Apple and Windows machines. Yeah, they're just a little different when you.
Yeah, I upload to Rumble too, or I have somebody to upload it actually, because I can't do that stuff.
Oh, I hear you.
And we're not making as much traction on Rumble either. So
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, you just never know, really.
Yeah, I get that.
I just tried it all as an experiment and said which one's going to work, and I was shocked to see it was Substack.
Yeah, Pinterest is actually one of my biggest social media platforms because it seems like everybody on Pinterest is very interested in do-it-yourself stuff, and it's like a picture encyclopedia. So they're on there looking for ideas and things like that. So I actually get the most traction from Pinterest than I do from any other social media platform, which is pretty odd. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. I think we don't do as much on that because it needs a vertical orientation or something.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, hey, your format's not right. So I'm like, okay, well, forget that.
Yep.
Only so many hours in a day, right?
Oh,
exactly.
Seriously, there are only so many hours in a day. The other thing, so after my own heart, so many of things about your past really strike a chord to me. That you put the herbal medicine information into your book, which is one of the main reasons why I was telling you in the green room about, Gina Mayuel's books, the Clan of the Cave Bear series, The Children of the Earth, it's called. And so that's what really got me interested at first in herbal healing because of that, her stories. And she writes survival fact in with her fiction. So I started researching what she was doing herbally to see, like, is this for real? Like, can you do all this stuff with these herbs that she's talking about? And lo and behold, yeah, she was absolutely on point with everything she was talking about. Way to go on making it so, like, it can be very intimidating for some people to, like, think, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to make my own medicine. Like, only a doctor can do that. You've got the 12, I think it was the 12 most common ailments with their treatments. Yeah. How to do the pills, how to make your own pills.
Yeah. How to make your own pills.
Yeah.
Isn't that great? Yeah.
It is. I've never seen it so simply, and using the mallow to make them, that makes complete sense. I'm not sure how many trees you could grow for all the different trees, but chapter 9, I think, is it's the one with the snake bite story. Yeah.
So got bit by a copperhead, which is pretty common from where we were in Central Texas there, and potentially fatal bite. And we treated it at home. The thing about that story is it used to be a little book on its own, and some friends of mine were school teachers, and I gave them copies, and it turns out to be like the most favorite book among the fourth graders. Like, they came back and they said, could you give us more copies? Because that the thing's thumbed up and worn out and everything. Like, the kids every year, hands down, that book gets read over and over again. And I think it's because my daughter Kimber played a pretty important role in helping me when I was snake bit. And she grew up as a little herbalist, so she knew a lot of what to do. And but that's a great story if you got kids. They really like that story because it resonates with young people. Used to be, you were kind of becoming an adult at 12, 13, 14.
Right.
You know?
That's true. That's true.
Not now, where it's like you're not even an adult at 25.
25. Please.
Sad.
It is sad. Yeah, we should be expecting a little bit more from them. I don't disagree there. But yeah, great.
And I don't recommend people start out trying to treat a snake bite, but it's it's also an aspirational story of like, I didn't know this stuff. I mean, I just learned it all and figured it all out and practiced and did stuff. And too, I mean, I wasn't born with some great herbalist mama or anything like that.
Right.
So you can definitely learn this stuff. And
I think it's an intimidating area for people for sure. Because I'm always like, are you on medication? Well, you need to think about, I know an herbal remedy is not going to be as potent as whatever Western medicine you're on because they actually chemically extract the things that are, what they want them to do, minus the buffers and all that. But the ability to have some type of an herbal answer to your chronic ailment or what you have to take a pill for could be very useful one day. So, Yeah,
or getting most of that chronic stuff if you do some lifestyle changes. I mean, diabetes, for example. I have seen everything from like raw meat people to raw vegans. I mean, I think it's just get off the commercial food supply and you can get over diabetes. So there's almost everything. There is alternatives to it. It's not necessarily like, I'm going to take this herb and it's going to replace this pharmaceutical. But you can change your life, and you should do that right now. You
right,
really
and I
should
love
now.
the tip as far as like, once you're in good health, like you can make it even better. You can use herbs to like make it even better if you wanted to have more energy, or that's awesome. I don't think people think about that way in this day and age.
I've been doing that personally with the jiu-jitsu. So I was able to train, 4 days a week. And these are hour-and-a-half trainings, and I have to ride my bike there an hour there and half hour back.
Goodness.
So I'm like, and I was like, I wanted to train harder. And I'm like, what can I do? And I'd plateaued at this thing, and I'm like trying different supplements and different stuff. And you can totally build up your strength and stamina to new levels. So, just working with your diet and working with different herbs. And there's so many herbs that our elders knew, the astragalus and the ashwagandha and the schisandra berries and all these different, longevity type herbs that are available to help you keep your strength and stamina well, and your sharp mind, right, well into your elder years. So,
and the Western medicine, our pharmaceutical companies definitely don't want everyone to know this information. You guys got to find it on your own. It's not going to be on your commercial TV.
And the reason I start out with the beginning stuff, like when I first got into this, I was just loving it so much. In the very beginning days when I created the Grow Network, I was doing like all this esoteric permaculture stuff, and it was so fun for me. And nobody knew what the heck I was talking about. And everybody kept saying, could you simplify it? Could you simplify it? They all really wanted beginner stuff. So that's really what I've been, spending like the last 15 years of how do you take somebody who knows absolutely nothing and they're probably older and out of shape, and then how do you get them producing a lot of food in a backyard, like all they've got is a quarter acre, and you can do a tremendous amount. And so figuring out like what's the easiest and the fastest and what's the most likely thing that somebody's going to have success with. It's because we have so many beginners, we've lost so much.
Yes.
So that was the need. Yeah.
At Prepper Camp, we're seeing more and more youthful faces. It is
good.
So good to see. Yeah, we have teenagers that are coming, and they sit there the whole time with their notebooks and whatnot. So very, very excited and encouraged by, like you say, it is the apocalypse because it is the unveiling, and people are starting to wake up and go, hey, wait a minute, like this doesn't work. And it actually hasn't even been here this long. We haven't been like living off of Nabisco and everything for hundreds of millions of years. This is actually all pretty new stuff that is only a couple generations old. And obviously it's not working because they
not at all. I'm actually helping some young people now. This young man who's in jiu-jitsu and his health is terrible. And he's only 23 or something like that. And I was teaching him how to make bone broth and how to make an herbal infusion because he's got problems with his hip. And I'm like, my goodness, you're only 23. I think that a lot of these young people are like, wait a minute, we're getting colon cancer and we're having heart disease, like, and we're in our 20s. Like, this ain't right. I'm like, you're absolutely right. It's not right. You're supposed to be eating real food. You got to grow food. You can't, nothing. We used to say you could be a perimeter shopper in the grocery store. And even that's no longer, you can't, there's nothing. You go to the grocery store to get toilet paper. Mm-hmm. That's about it.
Yeah. That's sad. It's so sad. Like, hopefully they're going to make some changes there. I am hopeful on that note. That they're about to do some major unraveling of the FDA and stuff in our country. So hopefully we are going to make progress on that note. But in the meantime, the same way as we can't rely on FEMA to take care of us in a disaster, we can't rely on like the government to do the right thing. And that's really up to us. So that's so great. Good stuff. Very nice layout. And I hope everybody goes over to the Grow Network and checks it out. You guys will not be disappointed. Marjorie, thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate your time on a Sunday night. I know it was a stretch for you. So I really appreciate you coming on the show and introducing yourself. And hopefully this is the beginning of a great relationship because I was very inspired by you and very impressed.
Well, it'd be so fun to come back on in a month or two after, well, maybe about 2 months after I've done the some of the more heavy metals tests and the glyphosate tests on these soils. So I'm going to be doing all kinds of tests on this for forever, basically. And if I can pitch that website again, that's thegrownetwork.com/fundraiser.
You got it.
If people would like to pick up one of the kits now or support that. So thank you too. I really appreciate being on the show. It's been so fun. It's been so fun. We could be sisters, Yeah.
I know when I started looking at it, and then you're like, and I'm training jujitsu, so I'm like, oh my gosh, we could just go forever. This could be a nightmare for everybody. It's so, right. No, you are more than welcome for sure to come back on. You just hit me up whenever you need to, and let's stay in touch. Like I said, I'd really like to stay in touch.
Absolutely.
Alrighty.
Thank you so much, Chen. We'll talk to you too.
You bet. Yep, it was fun. Absolutely.
All right. We'll talk to you guys later.
Have a nice night.
Right. Okay. Bye.
All right. So we're going to jump into some Changing Earth news. So great to have Marjorie on. Just such a special person to meet. I really enjoyed her. And I hope you guys go over and check out thegrownetwork.com/fundraiser. Help support this because it's really important as far as our soil quality goes. And I know it's a problem in the homesteading community that I've been chatting with. And so I'm going to spread the word there as well.
Yeah, I've been putting links in there.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Over in the live chat, guys. And I'll also have them in my blog for this episode. You'll be able to go find it. We'll throw it in the I'll throw it in the food category of the survival guide. Alrighty, well, let's go ahead and jump into some Changing Earth news.
Dream, survive, thrive. This is Changing Earth News.
Changing Earth news. So, yesterday we had a pretty mega X-class flare. Luckily for us, it was on the other side of the sun. So it still threw some of the energy at us, but, not nearly as bad as it could have been. There are some large sunspots turning our way, but they're not really set up magnetively. Does that make sense?
Easy for you to say.
For flaring. No, not easy for me to say. The bomb cyclone has hit the West Coast. So, and then they got hit by the atmospheric river right after that, a little bit farther south. So I was feeling for JB because she went through all that stuff with
I know, from one coast to the other.
Right? She goes back home and boom, they get hit. It was something like hurricane force winds. I think it was like some amount of
community to us to hang out with through it, so it's even worse.
I know. We weren't there to help.
So bad.
So
she was so helpful over here.
Oh, she made such a huge difference. And then just from end to end, she did great things as far as, being able to hook them up with the Skynet or Starlink and all that stuff. So I can't quit saying it wrong. Let's see. This morning, Iceland is erupting again near Grindavik. It's not looking good. It was a big eruption headed right towards the town. So that's not good.
Oh, and Marjorie in the green room was talk about planets lining up to give us even more volcanic activity. Yay.
December 10th. Yeah. I've been hearing about that because there was in October, there was like a weird alignment of 4 of the giants on the other side. And we were like the only one on the other side of the sun. So that was pretty... I was like, I don't know what's going to happen there. But everything, besides like the uptake of volcanic energy, that's just not stopping. Last Sunday, so there was a 6.1 earthquake in Kashima, Japan. Usually I don't report back that far, but that was a pretty significant earthquake that happened. On the 18th of November, we had 343 earthquakes that were 2.0 or bigger, biggest of which was a 5.2 north of Basco in the Philippines. There was a 2.4 earthquake that hit Alabama. Weird little spot for an earthquake. Also, small quakes were rattling parts of Massachusetts. So just, some odd...
Don't hear about that often.
Right? I know. That's why I was like, we're going to have to report on those ones. There is a supervolcano that lies under there that is very not known about over that direction. More than 53 earthquakes in one day shook the area of Solfatara in Italy. So it's it's eyes on that area over there because of Campi Flegrei. So I just keep looking over there, making sure that volcano is staying cool. It's only been Etna that's erupting. So Campi Flegrei is still on the warning list, but hasn't been erupting. There was a giant dust storm, a haboob, in Fresno, California that knocked out power. So it was just wind coming off from that system, just kicked everything up. And then in the Northeast, there was still the wildfires going on over on the Northeast coast. Luckily, most of that is over with at this point today. The wildfire numbers look really good. November 19th, 2024, there was 305 earthquakes that were 2.0 or bigger, biggest of which was a 5.6 South Pacific Ocean near Tonga. Oklahoma has experienced a record number of November tornadoes. So just another sign of our planet doing really interesting things. And Oklahoma getting lit up with a record number of tornadoes in November is one of those items. We had snowstorms impacting Canada, Saskatchewan up there. November 20th of 2024, 346 earthquakes that were 2.0 or bigger, biggest of which was a 5.7 that hit the Greenland Sea. There was also a 5.5 in Mutsu, Japan, and a 4.5 in the Philippines out by the Cartadunes Islands. And that's right after they got hit by one of these cyclones. They've been just getting hammered by the cyclones over there in the Philippines. The island of Grenada was experiencing severe flooding. That's just north of South America. Pacific Northwest was pummeled by the atmospheric river after they already had the bomb cyclone come through. Strong winds in Buffalo, New York causes flooding there. And China had a gigantic sandstorm, biggest one of those they've had in 2 decades. So that was impacting weather there, and, residents were urged not to go out and whatnot. November 21st, 2024, there was 360 earthquakes that were 2.0 or bigger, biggest of which was a 5.2 in the North Pacific Ocean near Guam. The east coast of the United States got significant rain, which they really needed because it was wildfire conditions all over the place there on the east coast. So that definitely helped put a lot of those fires out. In the Icelandic volcano, they caught a lava tornado, which was throwing lava into the air. So you thought like Sharknado was bad?
This isn't. Yeah, I was going to say, this isn't one of those cable TV movies, is it?
Right? This is a lava tornado.
Oh, come on now.
Yeah. Goodbye. You're done with the lava tornado. Snow in Chicago already. November 22nd.
With all that hot air in that city?
I know. I mean, Doug lives there. That's enough right there. Oh, he's going to love me for that one. Okay.
Pissed off at me.
Oh, I will. It's cool. You know me. I'll just drag everybody in with me. November 22nd, 2024. 318 earthquakes that are 2.0 or bigger, biggest of which was a 5.4 in the Molucca Sea near Indonesia. Storm Katana, that's how I'm going to say it. It's French, so it's not katana like Japanese, but sounds that way. Causes disaster in France. They had mad snow, ice, and wind alerts. Just a nasty winter scene there. New Jersey, they had hundreds without power after a snowstorm hits them. They kind of needed it, though, because of all the wildfire activity. November 23rd, 2024, there was 356 earthquakes that were 2.0 or bigger, biggest of which was in the South Pacific Ocean near Fiji. It was a 5.9. And then the atmospheric river just causing flooding in NorCal, in San Francisco. Just the city you want to be in when there's a flood because it's so clean. So I would not be walking through those storm waters to save my soul. Pennsylvania.
People don't understand that.
No, I know.
Everything that comes into that water it's not, virgin rainwater.
And they're all like in their shorts walking through it. I'm like, okay. They have needles there, that float around and things. So. Pennsylvania, snowstorm. And then on November 24th of 2024, 323 earthquakes that were 2.0 or bigger, biggest of which was a 5.1 in the North Pacific Ocean near Japan. Britain got hit today with Storm Bert, and they actually got snow in November, which is really, really unusual. Power outages, just damage to houses and businesses. Britain and Ireland got hit, pretty much the whole shebanger up there. So prayers to everybody. That was a pretty mega storm that came in and hit them. As far as volcano numbers, 37 erupting volcanoes on our planet right now, which is huge. A huge number. I've never seen that many ever. And so you would think, well, minor activity went down 1, so we just kind of shuttled 1 from minor activity to erupting. But no, we have 1 more in unrest, so we actually added 1 more volcano to our list of volcanoes showing activity on our planet. We're up to 96 now. If we break that 100 threshold, I'm just gonna, I don't know, I'll do a dance or something because that's just crazy.
We're going video on that show.
Right? I'll be doing something. As far as wildfires, we're at a preparedness level of 1. There's a total of 5 large fires. They're all new ones. 141,000 acres on fire. Although I didn't see it, because 4 of those fires are contained. New York is the number 1 on the list, which I have never seen before, ever. It's at 1 fire, 1 new. I believe it was like 5,000 acres that are on fire there. And then I didn't write the number down because I suck. And Massachusetts is number 2 on the list. They have 4 fires going. 2 of those are new. 2,479 acres, none contained. So another state that's not really on fire normally, right? So there's a chance that there is a super volcano under that area. You have wildfire activity, and now you have strange earthquake activity. So I'm just saying, could be interesting for Massachusetts. But I hope not. I'm not a trained geologist, so we'll just keep eyes on and report as we do on the Changing Earth news. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed the interview with Marjorie. If you didn't listen to it live, go check it out. I'll have it up Monday, or, it's on PBN right now. You'll be able to listen to it. Great lady, very inspirational. I was really, the Lord works in mysterious ways and connects you with cool people, as this whole experience has shown me. My co-host, for example. So
the treadmill.
The treadmill.
It all started with a treadmill and some earphones.
It did. Like, I loved it, though. You used to reach out to me all the time when you were reading my books. And, like, some people do. And I'm, like, trying to tell them, like, I love it so much. Just keep reaching out to me. It's cool. Like, I want to know those emotions.
Just slammed the door in her face.
Yeah. You didn't just do that, Sarah. Did you just do that? Did that just happen?
Tell me he's not dead.
Oh, man. Wait till you hear the audio drama this season. Also, I think I'm going to pretty much be able to, because I'm right on top of building. So I don't think we're going to have to do the last half of the season in 2 blocks. I think I'll just be able to continuously play it, which everybody will appreciate, because the block ends at a kind of a rough spot where you're like, what? That's it? So, yeah, and it's turning out very epic. So I'm very excited to share it with everybody. So I think we'll be in luck, and we'll be able to, I've just finished 15 yesterday. So I only have 1 more episode to build, and that we're going to stick a fork in it and call it done. Yeah, and I'm also working back through season 1. So we'll do like a re-release of everything, and it'll be fun. And we'll do some Family Feud, and we'll just, I can't wait to hear what everybody has to say. That's what started this all. Like, please give me that feedback. I love you guys. I want to know how you're feeling about it. All right. So once again, get your Changing Earth novels over at changingearthseries.com. Get everything over there. And I'm going to check out that new video place that Marjorie was talking about. See if we can't get over there. Start getting some stuff going. And tentatively, we are going to begin the analyzation of season 3 of the audio drama next week. But it just seems like the Lord has different plans in store for us every week, ever since we got back from the hurricane in September.
No kidding.
Right? So that is the game plan, and that's what we're shooting for, and hopefully we get there. So until next time, remember, dream,
survive,
thrive.
Thank you for joining Sarah and Chen for this episode of the Changing Earth podcast. Don't forget to pick up your copy of Day After Disaster, Without Land, The Walls of Freedom, Battle for the South, Dark Days in Denver, and The Endless Night at www.authorSarahFHathaway.com. If you love the Changing Earth series and podcast, become a supporter while you're there.